Hey everyone, I'm your Buster Green. I review video games. Alright, so I have a feeling that this video might not get a lot of views. People don't usually seem to care when I do Pokemon videos, but fuck it, I gotta make this video. I just spend too much time in this game. So, I spent the last 2 weeks, give or take, playing Pokemon Uranium. Pokemon Uranium is a legendary game. Let me tell you the story. So Pokemon Uranium, what it is it's an unofficial sequel to Pokemon Black and White. Or maybe Pokemon Black and White 2. It carries on the mature themes that Black and White introduced, while taking them into even darker territory and expanding the dynamic of the 2D Pokemon games that Black and White kind of perfected. I want to say this game kind of acts as a weird alternate option to Pokemon X and Y, because it goes in a pretty crazy alternate direction, and it really steers the franchise in like kind of the opposite direction of where X and Y went. So, where this game came from, it was made by a dude named Twitch who, once upon a time, decided he wanted to make a Pokemon sequel, and this Pokemon sequel was so epic that it almost won Best Video Game in 2016. It raised enough eyebrows that Nintendo slapped it with a cease and desist, and in doing so, they kind of ruined it, but thankfully, the game was 97% complete when Nintendo first heard about it and when they first shut it down. And since then, it's been kept on life support by a very exuberant online fan club. Now, I don't think I need to tell anyone this, but I'm just going to say it just because it has to be said. If you ever want to make a Nintendo fan game, Nintendo, they are relentless and they are ruthless when it comes to fan content. So if you make a Nintendo fan game, you release your shit when it's done. You don't tell anyone about it before it's done. You don't release any demos, any betas. You just keep it to yourself until it's done and then you let it out of the world. So, yeah. If you release an unfinished product, Nintendo is going to sue you. If you just release it, then it's done and it can't be helped. So, with Uranium, the Uranium brothers had their game 97% done when they released it, and Nintendo immediately shut that shit down. But hey, genie's out of the bottle, game's 97% done, and the game is actually very good to play. All this gives Pokemon Uranium this mystique and this legend that it's the banned, scandalous, illegal Pokemon game that Nintendo doesn't want you to play. And that being said, with the version I picked up in 2022, here's what's up. I'm going to first do a no spoilers review because I know a lot of people haven't played this game, and I feel like you really should check this out. But later in the video, I will do some spoilers after I give my initial review of the game. So let me first talk about the game's condition, because like I said, this isn't a finished game. It's a 97% complete fan game. So that means that you can beat this game, and you can collect almost all the Pokemon in it. The game is hella fun, it feels like a full game, you can beat the main story, you can have a great time with this game, lots of unique experiences, and you feel like a hero playing this game. And this game is completely worth playing because it does have so many unique and interesting takes on the classic Pokemon formula that I think, if anything, have just been implemented in this game because it was made by American fans and not a Japanese company. And also very pleasing, like I said, the online features like the global trade system and everything else are all still working perfectly thanks to the fan support and the fan club that keeps the server running behind the scenes. Now, there are a few bad sides to this game, like the fact that a lot of the subquests and side stories just have no ending because they weren't finished. And so that leads to a few things feeling anticlimactic and incomplete, especially in the post-game. This game has virtually no post-game because the post-game is so incomplete. Alright, now let me talk about the Pokemon themselves for a little bit. So, the big game changer of this game is there are nuclear Pokemon in this game. Nuclear Pokemon are Pokemon which have been mutated to have stronger moves, but at the same time, even if you catch them and have all the badges, they'll never listen to their Pokemon trainers unless after the game you can purify them in a whole ceremony, and it's a little bit like the Shadow Pokemon, but they stay blacked out and they stay super strong, so in many ways nuclear Pokemon are just kind of cooler Shadow Pokemon. The game also adds 150 brand new Fakemon. If you want to hear my full thoughts on the entire Pokemon Uranium Pokedex, I already did that in a separate video, but to sum it up very briefly, a lot of the Pokemon look like bad DeviantArt fan art, which kind of ruins it, but even if they look stupid, All the Pokemon in this game are good, unique ideas, except for a handful which are just one-for-one swap-outs of older Pokemon. There's a bunch of cool Pokemon. They're all Fakemon. There are some returning Pokemon from the older games. There's also even a few from X and Y that made it in. There are like 5 legendary Pokemon that are in the Pokedex, but you'll never see them in the game because they just were never programmed or developed. And I'm okay with this because that is par for the course with like how retroactively, like in real world, like in how in the real world you would get like, you could only get like Manaphy if you had like bought Pokemon Rangers, or how like you could never get Mew unless you went to a Toys R Us. So it feels very much like that because it was like the last 5 legendaries, and all the other Pokemon you can just get. Oh, and the Fakemon in this game are kind of weird. Like, some of them look completely legitimate, but some of the others just reek with this kind of immature deviant art quality where it feels like some random fat girl in your high school came up with it. Too many of the Pokemon just look like weird dogs, weird cats, or literally Charizard, which, as much a criticism as I'm giving to that, nowadays, even in the modern Pokemon games, there's a lot of new Pokemon that I can also categorize that way just as simply, so live and learn, I guess. There are also some really retarded Pokemon in this game that just kind of scream like, oh, we're edgy deviant art people who are into Digimon and we make like cyber pets. There are also really weird Pokemon in this game that are based on like human tragedies like Chernobyl and the Titanic, and even celebrities like Daft Punk, because surely Nintendo would never be so crass as to make a Pokemon modeled after any real-world person. Anyway, so in a nutshell, a lot of the Pokemon are good ideas, and a lot of them are very cool-looking, and even if they're not cool-looking, I do really respect the ideas behind all these Pokemon because they're like Pokemon I would want to say. I just have to say that a lot of them look a little bit unoriginal and a little bit amateurish. If you want a full breakdown of all the Pokemon in this game, I did make a separate video for that because to fully go over all of them took me like over an hour. Also, all the legit real Pokemon in this game are animated, but all the Fakemon, with a few exceptions, are not, which leads to a bit of a stylistic clash, but it is par for the course with like Pokemon Emerald and some older games. Alright, so let me now talk about the graphics for a bit. So, the graphics in this game are actually really impressive and really work with the art style. The graphics in this game are really unique and weird. It's kind of like an evolution of the art style from Pokemon Emerald, but scaled up to match the scale from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl and like Heart, Soul, Silver. Some of them even take on the aesthetic qualities from Black and White, and some of them even push it a little bit farther. Like, this game kind of feels like a PC game, but the overworld itself is like a massive triumph of sprite work. There are so many original looking buildings and gorgeous areas, and not only that, the game has this like fully functional day and night cycle, and a lot of the towns and cities are just absolutely gorgeously lit when it comes to be nighttime. Despite this though, the overworld isn't perfect. There are a couple of outdoor areas, particularly any of the outdoor areas with like weather, like where it's raining, especially in the rainforest section, that just get too dark and absolutely uncrossable when it comes to be nighttime, and you can't see what's going on. And the biggest criticism I have to give this game is because of its incomplete quality, because it was cancelled at 97% complete, a large number of the in-game Pokemon attacks look really half-assed. Some of them are tolerable, a lot of them aren't. I would have had zero complaints if they just wholesale recycled all the attacks from Pokemon Emerald, but instead they tried to like HD up a bunch of the attacks and they failed and they didn't finish it. So a lot of the attacks just look like bad Windows 95 desktop puke from the 90s. At least you can always turn off the attacks to save time, and sometimes you just want to because they're ugly. Now the biggest thing I have to talk about with this game is the difficulty. A general criticism I have of this game, unfinished and finished content aside, is that this game is hard as fuck. And it has a variety of options to make it even harder if you're just a sadist. But there's a bunch of core problems with this game that just make it so much extra hard beyond a normal Pokemon game. And that's the following. Number 1, all the Pokemon in this game just take way too much damage from the basic attacks. It really changes up the dynamic of how the game plays. so that you're extremely reliant on backtracking to Pokemon centers or other places where you can heal. And it gets to the point where about halfway through the game, I just was dying so much that I started stocking up on revives and hyper potions in the way that in a normal Pokemon game I would only have to do during the Elite Four battles. Because I just got so pissed about my Pokemon dying like in every single battle, having to backtrack to the Pokemon Center like every 5 battles, and I just eventually couldn't stand it anymore. Number 2, if that was not bad enough, the rate of experience points you get in this game is shit. Dog shit. I swear to God, if I could have had one optional setting or game genie code for this game, I would have just asked for double experience points because the grinding in this game is painfully slow. And the fact that your Pokemon get their asses kicked so hard for not even like 10% of an experience bar is just a fucking kick in the nuts on a hard game that's already too hard as it is. Number 3, making the combination of those first 2 things even more intolerable is the fact that the random encounter rate in this game is shit. You're going to be attacked by vicious as fuck Pokemon, I want to say every 4 steps you take. I counted, I was getting attacked every fucking 4 steps, and that was brutal, because in a normal Pokemon game, you won't get attacked until like your 6th or even your 12th step. But in this game, you're fucking attacked relentlessly. And it was so bad. Okay, actually, I kind of figured it out. What seems like happens in Pokemon Uranium is the weaker your Pokemon are, the more likely you're going to get attacked by wild Pokemon. And the only way to stop that is by leveling up. But it's so fucking relentless. Like, it was so bad that the first time I reached a cave, I just started getting attacked by like Zubats, like non-fucking stopped. So I dropped this game in the first cave on my first playthrough because that was just fucking too much, man. I couldn't take it. Like, another thing I have to say is like, in older Pokemon games, I actually thought it was really fun to train up your weaker Pokemon before like fighting a gym leader or like moving on. But Uranium outright punishes this behavior because its difficulty is so extreme and it curves up so fast that if you don't stick with your core Pokemon team, you're just gonna die. In general, it's kind of mean-spirited and not that fun. Also, one thing that's kind of cool is if you guys are into Nuzlocke challenges or Pokemon randomizers, there's actually an official Nuzlocke challenge built into this game. For those of you who have no idea about the words that are coming out of my mouth, the Nuzlocke challenge is a long-run fan challenge where you catch 1 Pokemon per area. It has to be the first Pokemon you run into. And also, if your Pokemon faint, they're dead and you have to release them. And the reason you're doing all this is because in 2006, there was a show called Lost on ABC. It was this like bad drama soap opera show made by like J.J. Abrams that made no sense. And there was a villain on the show called John Locke who was like a badass guy with a bald head who was like unlucky and always like out to do his own thing. Anyway, long story short, a Nuzlocke challenge is a Pokemon game where you play the game like you're John Locke from the show Lost, because people really liked Lost, I guess. I don't know. I watched Lost. I thought that show was dumb. It ends with 2 old men punching each other on a volcano, and then turns out to be a dream, or everyone was dead, or everyone was a ghost. They never fucking explained shit. Like, what the fuck was that smog monster? What the fuck was that polar bear? What the fuck was the deal with the Egyptian god cards? Anyway, my point is fucking Lost is an overrated show, and even though it was really good between season 3 and 5, the last season dropped the ball and ruined it. So my point is, don't watch a long show if it ends with a bad ending. Anyway, so this is just a ruthlessly hard game, and I played it on vanilla difficulty, but just know if you want it to be even harder, they gave you that option. I just wish they had given you options to make it easier. I don't know, I did enable classic Pokemon Poison because I felt like that was a mechanic I kind of missed from the older games. Anyway, for all of those reasons, Pokemon Uranium is the hardest Pokemon game I've ever played. It's definitely the hardest Pokemon game in like recent memory. I would say it's just as hard as the original Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. It's also just as hard as Gold and Silver, and a little harder but a little equivalent to Pokemon Emerald in places, just because it has double battles like Emerald did. Anyway, my point is Pokemon games have not been hard since Emerald. Although I did kind of use items in the same way as this game that I did in Legends Arceus. The other thing I have to talk about with this game is its layout. The layout of this game is very structurally similar to Red and Blue and Gold and Silver, but the towns are much larger and they are much farther spread apart. So it is a much deeper struggle getting from town to town. And on top of that, the events between the towns take a much longer time to deal with. Like, the weird thing about this game is that this game turned all of the middle of the game events, like the things you do between the gyms, into such massive, painful ordeals that it made me kind of hyper aware of the structure of a Pokemon game. Like, for example, in the original Pokemon game, to get to the first badge, you have to get through the Viridian Forest, and it's like, ooh, a forest, there are bugs. And then to get to the second gym with like Misty and everything, you have to get to Mount Moon, which is like, oh, it's the first cave. Oh, it's the first time you see Team Rocket. Oh, it's full of rock and bats and things. And then after you get to Cerulean City, you're stuck there and you can't backtrack until you reach the third gym. And you can't actually get into the third gym because you have to fight all the people on the SSN. My point is that this game does all that shit on crack. It has all those same beats, but those beats are harder, those beats are longer, and they're more complicated to overcome. And it made me so much more aware of the fact that in this game, all these major side quests are just kind of there to keep you from reaching the gym. The other thing that this game did, which was really fucking evil, is this game just was relentless about locking you out of earlier areas, which sucks because those earlier areas are the easiest way to level up your Pokemon, especially when they get stronger. So that was another way they kind of walled off the difficulty. And they don't give you Fly until the literal end of the game. Fly is the last thing you get, and that makes traveling across the region such a serious and costly and painful ordeal. A part of me did appreciate them holding back Fly because it really does change your perspective of the game, but in my opinion, as much as it changes your perspective, it breaks it. So that's the structure of the game. Now let's talk about the game itself. So like any Pokemon game, it's a basic quest to get the 8 Pokemon badges. And I was very impressed that to change it up in this game, instead of the gyms being based around types like a normal Pokemon game, they based them around biomes, which is actually something that Pokemon Go has been doing lately. Instead of, just the classic, I'm the electric gym leader, I'm the steel gym leader. Instead of that, there's just like the beach gym leader and the cave gym leader. And later on they get a little bit more abstract. There's one who's like the yin yang gym leader. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The other big thing is, instead of Team Rocket trying to steal your Pokemon, or Team Plasma stroking your wokeness and your white guilt to try and get you to release all your Pokemon, this game introduces nuclear Pokemon, and the nuclear Pokemon are tied to a nuclear accident that happened a few years back. And so these nuclear Pokemon are roaming around the region, destroying nuclear power plants, and basically acting like 1,000 dog-sized Godzillas on their way to create several Chernobyl events and genocide the region into a nuclear holocaust. So, yeah, I gotta say, this Pokemon game actually has some pretty serious stakes. In this game, you literally need to catch Pokemon, or the entire country will die in radioactive hellfire. So, yeah, it's a serious Pokemon game. As someone who's actually been through a nuclear holocaust, I took this game with absolute seriousness. Anyway, so I was utterly impressed with this game because it took the bare bones of a Pokemon game and created a much more mature, deeper experience. And again, this game really, really sells itself as being a direct alternative to the slop that was Pokemon XY. Pokemon XY was a shorter, blander Pokemon game that changed out substance for style and content for customizable clothes and 3D graphics. Whereas this is a classic Pokemon game that is just huge. It really feels like the hugest Pokemon game ever made. It feels like what Pokemon would be if there was a Super Nintendo version of Pokemon. And I love that the theme of this game is like, the abuse of like energy power, like the dangers of radiation. the whole like genetic mutation of like wild radiation in the environment. And that's about all I can say about this game without getting into spoilers. So just to wrap things up, I'm going to drop my review in the middle of the video just to trick you guys. And then I'm going to get into the spoiler section. So Pokemon Uranium, you guys should know, gets an 8 out of 10 because pros. It is an evolution of the original 2D Pokemon games. And it is also shockingly the best 2D Pokemon game ever made. It is literally a fan dream game with so many fan requested moments. So many things that you wish you could see in a Pokemon game, but that the Japanese staff would never implement. The nuclear Pokemon are an amazing and interesting twist, and the ending is so satisfying if you stick with it. All the Pokemon in this game are really good and unique ideas too. Cons though. The game is only 97% done, and it really falls apart after you beat the main story and get into the post-game. There's basically no post-game, and the post-game is like extremely not finished. Also, the difficulty in this game is just fucking cruel. This is a game aimed at series veterans, and it's just punishing and weird for casual players. Also, all the battle effects are unfinished, and a lot of the Fakemon, even if they're good ideas, they look like crap. Alright, with all that preamble out of the way, I will now give you the relative story of how my gameplay of Pokemon Uranium went. Spoilers from here on out, here's how I played the game. So, literally several years ago, I started playing Pokemon Uranium. I chose the Black Charmander ripoff, who seemed to be the cutest of the 3 starters. I mean, he was cute enough, he looked janky from behind, a little bit too much like Mighty the Armadillo. Anyway, he eventually became my best Pokemon on my team, and yeah, I caught a bunch of starter Pokemon. Interesting fact about this game, they let you pick between a boy, a girl, or neither, so I chose the gender-neutral Pokemon because I thought that was hilarious. Gender neutral seems to make you a boy with Misty's hairstyle. Go figure. Anyway, so I easily got through Route 1 and I got to the first town, Kevlar Town. Kevlar Town introduces berries, and I got distracted here because my berry trees kept dying because I guess I wasn't playing the game fast enough. Whatever. And then I got to Route 2 where I was attacked and ambushed by so many shitty Digimon cat motherfuckers and completely incapable of taking 4 steps without getting attacked. That it pissed me off so much that I dropped the game right here. And I did not play Pokemon Uranium after that for years. Now, I thought about coming back to it for a while. I kept hearing good things about it. And finally, a few weeks ago, I decided, fuck it. I was going to get serious. I was going to beat this game. So I picked it back up. And Pokemon Uranium is just not an easy game. But if you stick with it, you're going to have a good time. I want to estimate that it took me about 80 hours to beat Pokemon Uranium, split into about 8-hour sessions a day for like 10 days. And when I finally beat the game, it said I played for 200 hours, but that's mostly because since it was a PC game, I let it run in the background while I was doing like other shit on my computer, like YouTubing and writing and whatever. One thing that drove me nuts was when I first started playing the game, my berries kept dying. I couldn't figure out why they kept dying or what the deal was with like the cycle was. It seemed like they were fully bloomed if I came back to them in 24 hours, but any more than that and they might not be there. I forget how berry mechanics work in the old Pokemon games, but this annoyed me. I can't tell if it was true to the original or if it was just being weird because it was a PC game. Anyway, after several years, I finally got myself and my team out of that dogshit cave. I caught a bunch of Dunsparce on my way out of there. But despite the fact that Dunsparce evolves in this game, and I think that's so fucking cool, I never bothered to train up a Dunsparce in this game. I'm okay with that retroactively because it turns out you need to like raise a Dunsparce from like level 1 to 40 to actually evolve it. Anyway, then I beat the first gym with literally no effort whatsoever. I don't remember what happened. It was just so fucking easy. After that, I had to backtrack to Moki Town, and that's where the next gym was actually in the opposite direction. Oh, and between this and that, I ran into a bunch of Pokemon Rangers, and I was actually so impressed that this game fucking integrated the Pokemon Rangers as something that actually mattered to the Pokemon canon, because I played that game just to get Manaphy, and then I never thought of it again. And this is the first time I've thought of it since then, and I was like, oh yeah, I know those guys. Cool to see them again. So I struggle my ass through Route 3, and the early areas in this game are just so fucking unforgiving. because this game is so hard, it's really, really hard in it to get started. Eventually, I reach Burrell Town, where the second gym leader is. The second gym is like the first biome gym, and this gym is based on the cave biome. Once again, the gym leader was a complete pushover. I defeated him with 0 issues because I had so many ground Pokemon. And then after that, there was a huge development where on Route 4, I got to this cave called the Comet Cave. The Comet Cave is what I'm going to say is the first critical training moment. So your rival Theo teams up with you, and Theo is a really weird rival. He's like a combination of a bunch of different rival tropes. He's kind of an annoying crybaby kid like Wally from Ruby and Sapphire, but throughout the game he really progresses and matures to the point where you can actually respect him. In fact, if anything, I'd say he's like a better Wally with like a better arc where I can respect him more. Anyway, so Theo teams up with you in Comet Cave and agrees to auto-heal all your Pokemon, and this fixes everything because now I can finally train without worrying about my Pokemon fainting. And so in Comet Cave, I just train my ass off. Comet Cave only has 2 rooms, so you need to be careful about walking through them too fast. But I just stayed in like the first room of Comet Cave for like a fucking day, and I got all my Pokemon from like level 10 to level 20, evolved all my lower form Pokemon, and in general, I took advantage of this and I got my team in such better shape. I also caught my first and only shiny Pokemon of the entire game, which was a shiny purple Digimon Bat garbage thing. I never used this Pokemon because I fucking hate it, and it lives to this day in my box. Eventually, I decided I couldn't grind up anymore in the cave, so I left, went past Route 5, and I reached Rockvale Town. Rockvale Town, there was this Garlic Kid subquest, that was a thing. And then after that, I kept on going to get to the next gym, but the next gym was so fucking far. I had to go through Route 6, the tunnel, Route 7, then there was this massive beach sand dune thing with all these cool coconut crab Pokemon that were literally coconut crabs. I wanted to catch one and raise one, but I just couldn't justify it in my team because this game has a problem where there are way too many ground Pokemon, and at this point I had like the ground fire Pokemon I started with, I had a ground dragon type which I raised up, and I just couldn't justify a ground grass Pokemon. If I had known there was going to be so many fucking ground Pokemon in this game, I probably would have gone with the Grass Cat starter. But fuck it, I'm ultimately happy I chose the Fire Raptor. He was such a VIP Pokemon. I finally got myself to Beale Beach City, which was pretty much Celadon City in this game, with the department store and all that shit. So, if you remember in the normal Pokemon game, in Celadon City you had your first massive battle with Team Rocket. And in this game, you kind of like get yourself involved in the nuclear Pokemon storyline. So heads up, if you're ever playing this game, you can't revisit any of the nuclear power plants you visit, except the last one in the game. So you need to be really careful when you're in a nuclear power plant or a nuclear afflicted area to catch all the nuclear Pokemon the first time you visit, because you won't ever come back and you're never going to see those nuclear Pokemon again. So the first nuclear power plant is Nuclear Plant Epsilon, where your character's mom died. It has this super creepy Chernobyl vibe, and all the Pokemon on this island are like fully irradiated and mutated and horrible. None of the Pokemon are particularly strong though, so you should just catch them for the sake of collection. After you collect all the nuclear Pokemon, a nuclear disaster happens and you evacuate the island. You go back to Beale Beach City, you beat the gym leader, who's like a beach-themed gym leader, easy as shit. And then the nuclear Pokemon attack you again. You retreat to the other side of the region on a boat, and as you're trying to get to the boat, you're attacked by a radioactive Gyarados. I ended up catching the radio Gyarados, and it ended up being a permanent addition to my team, because it was like my first really good nuclear Pokemon, and I kind of stuck with it to try and like fully get my brain around what a nuclear Pokemon was and kind of like get used to them. Quickly explaining how nuclear Pokemon work, because I didn't really get it until I got the nuclear Gyarados. The nuclear Pokemon have insane type advantages and weaknesses. The nuclear Pokemon are all super weak to normal Pokemon, and they're all resisted by metal Pokemon. But any other Pokemon type of like the other like 16 types, they're super effective against. And because they're super effective against so many types, that means they're 4 times super effective against any Pokemon with 2 types, and 2 times super effective against any single type Pokemon, which just gives them a massive destructive edge. That being said, I ended up keeping my Special Sweeper Pidgeot clone on my party until the end of the game because since it was a fast, normal type Pokemon, it was my designated nuclear Pokemon killer. So after the Gyarados attack, I ended up escaping on a cruise ship that was literally the SS Hand. There was pretty much a shortened version of the SS Hand scenario, and the next day we arrived at Route 8. Route 8 was this massive cornfield-like area. It looked like fucking Kansas. And what was interesting here was there was this missable subquest that I totally missed on my first time through because I was playing this game in the morning and it turns out that you can only do the subquest at night. Anyway, long story short, in the subquest you get a UFO Pokemon, which is a super cool original idea. So the UFO Pokemon are all lead-ups for the 4th gym because the 4th gym leader is a Steel-type leader. And his gym has like this annoying floor trap where you keep falling in the trap. I felt like this trap was kind of glitched in a couple ways, and I ended up having to beat it by using a map and carefully counting my steps because I just kept falling in holes. Also, on a fun fact, the 4th gym town also had this church in it, which was kind of thought-provoking because the normal Pokemon games really glaze over religion in the Pokemon world in a way that don't really get covered until arguably Legends Arceus with like the Diamond and Pearl people. Anyway, so after the 4th gym, Power Plant Zeta explodes and it cuts off your access to the entire northwest area of the region. And that sucks. That screwed me out of the UFO subquest until I beat the game. And then after that, you team up with the Pokemon Rangers again and you kick a bunch of nuclear Pokemon out of a wildlife preserve. Now at this point, you can actually catch some extremely rare nuclear Glygars. There's only one in the entire game. There's also a decently strong nuclear Arbok that can Mega Evolve in this game. So you should definitely try to catch that when you see it. Now, after that, you briefly stop in this place named Legend Town, which is kind of like Viridian City because it's like right next to the Pokemon League. You meet this inventor dude there who introduces these anti-HM replacement items, which are ironically pretty much the same shit that Nintendo would eventually introduce in Sun and Moon. Except they're not actual Pokemon, they're just weapons. I pretty much love using all these, especially the surfboard, but the game is very strategic to not give them to you until you have enough gym badges that the HMs are already irrelevant anyway. Anyways, to get to the 5th gym after that, we need to do some ultra serious backtracking to like the middle of the game and then make like a right turn at Route 5. And then that puts us on Route 10, which is the bay called Rainforest. A very intense, very scary rainforest jungle area, which is like very comparable to like the rainforest jungle from Pokemon Snap. This is one of the biggest areas in the game, and it's linked together with this like underground bug-infested cave system called the Anthell instead of an anthill. Get it? Anyway, Anthell is a super bug-focused area. You get swarmed on by bug Pokemon there. Bug Pokemon, thankfully, are pretty weak at this point, so you can pretty much easily sweep them, at least I could with my Fire Starter. There are also a number of weird zombie Pokemon trainers here who are like mystified or like possessed or like, maybe they're like zombified with like that zombie ant kind of pollen thing. Anyway, it's pretty creepy. And then when you reach the bottom of the anthill, it turns out that the 5th gym leader is trapped here in a spider web, about to be eaten by a legendary Pokemon called Seika Matter, which is this awesome legendary bug Pokemon. Very, very cool Pokemon. I gotta really give it to them on this one. Really respected that one. Anyway, so after rescuing the 5th gym leader, he turned out to be a flaming gay black cross-dresser with a fire-themed gym because he was flamingly gay. Anyway, despite the state of Florida not wanting to discuss people like that because of their sexuality, I found it somewhat refreshing and a nice change of pace that, you know, I feel like we're a long way off from getting a game that has like openly gay Pokemon trainers, and you know, there have definitely been some obviously extremely gay Pokemon trainers in the past, and even though this guy comes off like a parody of that one gym leader in Diamond and Pearl who was like a lady in a sequin dress with a very masculine face, were they an actual woman or were they a cross-dresser or were they trans? Anyway, this game just has a straight up gay gym leader, and I'm here for it. Anyway, that being said, the 5th gym leader, total pushover. Easily defeated because this game has too many ground Pokemon. And I had too many ground Pokemon on my team. So after the 5th gym leader, our rival showed up and gives us the Surf HM. We surf our way out of the rainforest, getting around a lot of backtracking. And that begins our tumultuous sea voyage to the 6th gym. Now, on the way to the 6th gym, we were repeatedly attacked by annoying surf ninjas. Yep, surf ninjas, just like that old movie from the 90s. The leader of the surf ninjas ends up being one of the first Pokemon trainers in the game to defeat me on multiple go-throughs. Because he had water Pokemon, I had ground Pokemon, and on top of that, he had a very high level advantage over me. And on top of that, all the water Pokemon in this game have really evil dual typing. All the water Pokemon in this game are like Water Steel or Water Psychic. So not only did I have a hard time taking them down, but it was almost impossible to train up my Pokemon in this area because they would just get killed so fast. So, and to make matters even worse, the ocean is so far from the nearest Pokemon Center, which is like all the way back in Roachvale Town. So I got stuck here for forever, and I want to say it took me like a fucking day just to beat the leader of the Surf Ninjas. After I finally beat the fucking Surf Ninjas, I had to gruel my way through another area, and eventually I reached the 6th gym. The 6th gym was in this Venice, Italy-based water city that had all these amazing Griffin Pokemon everywhere, and that was another really good idea. And that takes me to the 6th gym. The 6th gym, I want to say, is loosely based on the Sydney Opera House, just because it's an opera house on an island. So I beat the 6th gym leader with not too much of a struggle. The 6th gym was actually really easy compared to the later gyms. I did have to rematch her 1 or 2 times, but I didn't feel like she was broken, just that my Pokemon were under-leveled at this point. And at this point, I also finally got an Eevee, which I immediately evolved into Nucleon to replace the Ground Dragon and Charizard ripoff in my party, because like I said, I had too many ground Pokemon. So then, at this point, the biggest game changer in the entire game happens. In a random building in the Venice, Italy city, I ran into a move tutor who teaches my starter Pokemon Blast Burner, and this completely changes the entire game. Having Blast Burn gives my starter the power to one-shot kill anything it runs into within reason. And this really helped me out because at this point, my moves are shit. Like, up until now, I felt like my starter was kind of useless in battle, but suddenly it becomes my ace in the hole. And this is a huge turning point because so many of my team is useless. Like, I've got Nuclear Gyarados, but Nuclear Gyarados will never listen to me. I raised up that Steel Horse from like a smiley face, but the Steel Horse has like a bunch of inaccurate moves that always miss. And I have this Bugbear thing, but that's just like my capture specialist because it's had Stun Spore. That Pokemon's also completely useless in battle. So at this point, I only have 3 Pokemon I can really depend on in battle. My starter with Blast Burn, Nucleon, who became a shockingly good Pokemon, shockingly fast, and my bird, who was there to kill nuclear Pokemon. So yeah, even though I had a team of 6 Pokemon, I could really only count on 3 of them. Now, before moving on to the next story, my rival showed up north of the city and offered me a chance to fight him over and over again for extreme experience points and money. And I'm so grateful to my rival in this game. Like, if nothing else, my rival has always been there for me in this game to help me do training. And I definitely don't think I could have beaten this game if I hadn't done this training with my rival. And because of that, I feel this weird camaraderie with him that I've never had with like any other rivals in like any of the other Pokemon games. Because this dude legitimately helped me out. And I've never had this like kind of experience in a Pokemon game before. It felt like I was watching like an episode of Dragon Ball where like all the characters train together. And it was like really, really pure. So I trained with Theo until my Pokemon could one-shot his Pokemon, and that just didn't seem worth it to do any more training anymore. After that, there was another sea crossing where I went to another port city, and at this next port city, I did the second part of the Garlic Kid side quest, where I finally caught Garlic Kid, and he promptly went into my PC box, never to be seen again. Now after that, there was a massive snow crossing to get to the 7th gym town, and this felt very similar to dealing with the Ice Cave and Gold and Silver, between the 7th and the 8th gyms. But as usual with this game, everything is a massive fucking ordeal, so just crossing this ice field took me like another half a day. Finally, I got to the 7th gym. The 7th gym was a very well organized and kind of formal affair. There were monks, there were ceremonies, it was a whole thing. Despite that, I coasted through the gym no problem, and the 7th gym leader ended up being a double battle where my rival helped me take it down. So I honestly feel like I barely fought him, and it was a real non-issue. After the battle, though, the gym leader gave me the Mega Pokemon Evolution Ring from X and Y. And then my rival challenged me to a Mega Pokemon battle. And that rival battle felt like it was the actual 7th gym leader battle. By the way, I'm not going to lie, it also felt really, really nice to have Mega Evolution in a 2D Pokemon game. So, after that, I was finally ready to challenge the 8th gym. Unfortunately, the 8th gym was on another island to the south of the 6th gym. And then we get another serious section of backtracking because you can't fucking fly in this game. The lack of flying changes everything about fucking Pokemon. This game would have been just half as short if you just had fly, like a normal Pokemon game. But because you didn't, I had to backtrack all the way through that fucking ice cave again for no fucking reason. Then I had to surf along the sea route, and while I was backtracking through the sea route, I was attacked by pirates in several embarrassing encounters. So the pirates were basically the pre-8th gym event, and the pirates had these super awesome Pirate Cubone regional variants, which were very impressive. I had to use dive to get through the pirates to get to the 8th gym city, and this was just a fucking roadblock. The dive section was over in a couple of minutes, and finally I reached the island with the 8th gym. So the 8th gym was amazing. Like, this island has this like feudal Japanese theme. It's very, very nice. And surprise, surprise, there's a vendor selling all the apricot balls from Gold and Silver, and it was just simply amazing. So I finally reached the 8th gym. The 8th gym was super cool. It had all these awesome puzzles with like yin-yang balance, and I was totally there for that. Like, those were honestly the funnest puzzles in the entire game. You had to clean up these tiles and like balance out your feng shui, and it was just fun. And then at the end of that, I had to fight the 8th gym leader. And the 8th gym leader got to me. After literally all the gym leaders up to now being pretty fucking easy, the 8th gym leader was a nightmare because the 8th gym leader wasn't a single gym leader. It was a married husband and wife duo. And you had to fight both of them back to back. And so that made it an 8 Pokemon endurance match. And mind you that 2 of their Pokemon were Mega Pokemon. So it was just hell. I could not easily get by this husband and wife. I would like every time easily take down the wife and get killed by the husband because my Pokemon would be exhausted. So I just had to rematch them several times. And while I did this, I used the money from the battles to stock up on apricot balls. Now after the 8th gym, you think the game would be resolved and over and I'd go on my way to Victory Road. But no, because this is Pokemon Uranium. So after you beat the 8th gym, Nuclear Plant Omicron gets attacked by another gang of nuclear Pokemon. And at this point, you're finally introduced to the game's antagonist and main villain, and main legendary. In this game, there's a straight-up supervillain named Curie, named after dead nuclear pioneer Marie Curie, and she has a Pokemon named Uranium, which is the Pokemon on the box. So yeah, Curie is straight up a comic book supervillain. She wears a Darth Vader suit, and she has these strange radioactive powers where, like, she's up to fight Radioactive Man or something. I know, it's a really interesting change of pace for a Pokemon villain to just be... You know, Pokemon villains are usually like psychotic businessmen, whereas like Curie is straight up like a Batman villain or something. Or maybe more of a Batman Beyond villain, actually. Curie would totally work to like fight against like any major superhero. But anyway, so Curie's here and she has this Pokemon called Uranium. Uranium is the legendary of the game, and it's basically a miniature Godzilla doing Godzilla's typical thing of eating nuclear power plants. And apparently Curie and Uranium are at fault for driving all the nuclear Pokemon crazy because that's sort of what they do. So then there's this massive, massive gang Pokemon battle at Nuclear Plant Omicron, where the 8th gym leaders actually chip in and help you battle. And they get all these like ninjas and feudal farmer hicks to join you in the battle. And it's just this massive epic battle with all these different Pokemon trainers trying to fight all these wild nuclear Pokemon. And it's also kind of strange because all these like ninjas and feudal farmers are like completely out of touch with modern society. And they're being attacked by these radioactive Pokemon, which are like the result of modern society. And they're also trying to defend this nuclear power plant that these people would otherwise want nothing to do with. And anyway, so you fight your way through it, and eventually you corner Uranium and Curie into this trap. But they escape the trap, and they flee to Nuclear Power Plant Zeta. which is the nuclear power plant that blew up in the middle of the game. And this is apparently the last nuclear power plant that has nuclear fuel rods in the area. So at this point, the Pokemon Rangers equip you with a fucking radioactive power protection suit, which is literally the fucking radiation suit from Fallout, and you can't run when you're wearing it because it's so heavy. And then you get sent back to Route 8 in this fucking Fallout suit, and Route 8 is now a nuclear hellscape. Everything's dead, it's infested with nuclear Pokemon. At this point, I want to say this is the most original point of Pokemon Uranium, because at this point you're just walking through this nuclear hellscape in a fucking Fallout suit, being swarmed by these high-powered nuclear Pokemon. At this point, this has officially become a completely original experience. Now, you're roaming through this hazard zone, and at a certain point you eventually run into these new lame Pokemon called Hazma. Hazma are these plot Deus Ex Machina Pokemon that eat the radiation, and they look like fucking Breaking Bad Funko Pops. So, yeah, these Pokemon are just bad Deus Ex Machinas to clean up all the radiation and give the story a fairy tale happy ending. But I was not into them because, I'm gonna be real with you guys, when I was in Japan, I lived through the Fukushima nuclear power disaster. I fucking ate radioactive food, and I bathed in radioactive water. And 10 years on, the land where I once was is still contaminated and ruined from the Fukushima plant exploding. And I just gotta call bullshit on this for the fact that in reality, you can't clean up a nuclear accident that simple, even with magical Pokemon. It takes lives, it takes robots, it takes garbage bags, and most of all, it takes time. And you guys just can't process this unfeasible nightmare. So, as cute as this idea was, I just gotta call bullshit right here. After you catch one of these Hasbro motherfuckers, Theo joins you again for what was designated to be a final 5-minute romp. But this is your last chance to train with Theo. And like I've said, every single time with Theo and training has been so good that I had to take advantage of this. So this is just like the time in Crystal Cave where he was healing your Pokemon. And so even though you're only with Theo for like a narrow strip of land, I stuck it out with Theo for like a whole fucking day and grinded my team up here from level 50 to about between level 60 and 65. At level 65, I thought I was finally good enough to beat the game. Oh, and by the way, so remember when I was in Crystal Cave and I got my first shiny Pokemon? Here, I ran into my second shiny Pokemon. And unfortunately, it was a shiny nuclear Baron. I say unfortunately because I didn't catch it, because Theo was so pumped up and taking no prisoners that he killed it before I could even get my Pokeball off. And this drove me insane, because I have such a good track record at catching shiny Pokemon, and meanwhile this one was killed in front of me before I could even do anything. Apparently this is actually kind of a common happening in this game. The shiny Pokemon are very prone to suicide. Go figure. After that, I finally thought I trained enough. I was ready to beat this game, so I walked into Nuclear Plant Zeta. Nuclear Plant Zeta is a dungeon with some basic puzzles. At the end, I encountered Curie, the nuclear holocaust, who had a complete team of super strong nuclear Pokemon, and somehow I beat it. Now after this, there was another long fucking cutscene explaining all this drama, explaining the main character's dad, explaining that the main character's dad is an asshole, explaining that Theo has a dad, Theo's dad's in a coma. All this shit, I didn't care for it. Too much family drama, I just wanted to get to Victory Road and get my fucking trophy. So finally they let me go, I got out of the fucking hazard suit, and I spent another fucking day trying to get through Victory Road. Because like everything else in this game, Victory Road was twice as big as normal. It was literally like a double-sized Victory Road, with the first part of it resembling the Victory Road from Ruby and Sapphire, and the second part of it resembling the Victory Road from Red and Blue. Finally, after all that bullshit, I got through Victory Road. And you know what was waiting for me at the end? Well, it wasn't the Elite Four. What awaited me at the end was the fucking Pokemon League Challenge Tournament from the anime. And my fucking god, as much crap as I gave this game, as hard as it was, I could almost cry that this was the fucking Pokemon League from the anime with the anime's rules, and that alone was just a dream come true for me. That alone was worth all the fucking struggle I'd gone through, worth the price of admission, and I was just so happy to actually compete in the Pokemon League like it was the fucking anime. Now, in the Pokemon League, Nucleon and my starter just took down one Pokemon after another, and it was so satisfying. And because it was the Pokemon League, there were way more battles than the Elite Four, and also all my Pokemon got healed from round to round, and it was fun. It was actually fun. The Elite Four at the end of a Pokemon game is never fun. This was fun. I was so shocked it was actually fun. So finally, I reached the final round of the Pokemon League. And at the last round, all hell broke loose. A legendary nuclear Pokemon attacked me. I beat it up, and then Kyria and Uranium showed up for one more final showdown. And I had this super dramatic final battle with Mega Uranium where it actually swept my entire team, except Nucleon. Nucleon was the only Pokemon it couldn't defeat because Nucleon was able to resist its nuclear moves, and Nucleon was also like my second strongest Pokemon. So Nucleon ended up getting me the win. Oh, and then, spoilers by the way, Kyria turned out to be my mom. It was kind of obvious from the cliche Darth Vader suit. After that, there was a fucking 20-minute long Hideo Kojima directed cutscene explaining how Uranium was created by my mom, and my mom became Kyria because she put on the Kyria suit, and the Kyria suit was essentially the Dr. Octopus claws from like Spider-Man 2, and literally Kyria just has Dr. Octopus's origin story where she stopped wearing the suit and the suit started wearing her. For all the cool ideas they put in this game, this one kind of just seems like they had to explain the supervillain, and they pulled the first thing they thought of out of their ass, which was Spider-Man 2. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Pokemon Uranium. Now, after beating this game, after being so happy I beat it, I played it for about 4 more hours after that, where I caught all the legendaries, and I did all the subquests I missed, because, as I just mentioned earlier, the post-game in this game, not finished. It's just kind of a half-baked idea and a lot of dead ends going nowhere. Now, I tried to catch as many Pokemon as I could as I was playing through the game. In the end, I want to say I caught like 130 Pokemon. I saw 180, which was like almost the whole dex, which I think had like a final total of like 192. I didn't bother doing any post-game grinding. That's usually something I do in a normal Pokemon game, but this is a fan game with no future, so there was no point. Nonetheless, I had such an amazing time playing this game. There were so many special things here. The radioactive Pokemon, the theme of the dangers of radiation, the weird joke Pokemon, the fact that there was a supervillain. There's never been a Pokemon game with a supervillain, just like a villain who you could arrest and like punch in the face. The game ending on the Pokemon League and instead of ending on another boring ass Elite Four group, that honestly moved me. That honestly made me feel something. This game just brought so many new ideas to the table, and I wish Nintendo had ensued this game into oblivion because I really feel like there's a lot of ideas in this game that really should be seriously considered. I gotta recommend Pokemon Uranium. I just gotta. If you're a fan of Pokemon, if you've been playing Pokemon for as long as I have, and you're looking for something fresh, something new, maybe something a little bit harder and a little bit more nuanced, you need to play this game because it's free. You just gotta give it a shot. Pokemon Uranium is a strange, unofficial classic Pokemon game that I really think more people should play because it's just that good. Alright, thanks for listening to this review if you stuck it out to the end. Funny enough, this review ended up taking an hour or two. I'm Neil Buster Green, and I play Pokemon games. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys later. Good night.